Good morning. If you sew a lot like I do, you may have an unreasonable amount of fabric scraps. So today, I'm going to put some of these to good use. So, will I find the right color for the fabric for the project that I have in mind? I wanted to take a second to apologize for my absence. If you're a regular viewer of this channel, you will know that I have not actually uploaded anything at all since... Why is there thread in here? I don't know. I haven't actually uploaded anything at all since early August. So basically, life happened. I was working on a giant project for work, and I was trying to keep up, you know, some smaller projects going during that time, and it was going okay for a while, and then in early September we lost my grandmother, very, very unexpectedly. She was fine, and then my parents called me. So that happened, and then the huge project at work continued, and we had to deal with, you know, family things and etc. And then in early October, we also lost my uncle on my mom's side. So I have not been in the mood to film anything, really, so that's why I have been fairly absent. It is what it is, but, you know, family is more important than me putting out videos, so I'm sort of apologizing, but I'm also sort of not apologizing. I just needed to take some time. So I am back, and we're going to do a kind of a simple project for this video, something that I can use to help get myself a little bit back into the swing of things for filming. So I'm going to be making a pair of arm warmers. They're really good for medium-sized scraps. I mean, this would be too small, but something like this would be pretty good. And I've got, oh, this one might be too small. No, okay, this might be a good size. All right, set that aside. And, ooh, all right, great. Well, I mean, I was already thinking red, and the other red that I've got is kind of bits and pieces. So yeah, I think we have our winner for fabric. Oh, awesome. I definitely left that recording while I got the tape. Sweet, cool, okay. Cool. Now, let's see. Let's see how much of this we need. You know, in retrospect, do this before you do the tracing. Don't be like me. That probably is good. Here. Okay, so here you can see my original tracing, and then where I kind of made the lines more regular, and then I added width. And, you know, if I need to cut this down, that's totally fine, but obviously I can't make the pattern any bigger if I ended up making it too small, so always err on the side of caution there. So what I'm going to do with this project is I will do one of them on camera and one of them off camera. That way I can see basically how long it takes, so that I can let you know if you are following along with this yourself and making a set of arm warmers, you can have a rough estimate of how long it's going to take to make them. Good morning. So I was intending this arm warmer project to be a one-day make, and I definitely think it still could be a one-day make if you didn't do what I did and start doing chores directly after finishing the first arm warmer the other day. But that is what I did. Based on how long it took me to make just one of them, I really feel like this could be a one-day make. So anyways, we're going to take our second piece of material and make the second arm warmer today. So the first thing that I did yesterday was I pattern tested my pattern, so I grabbed some fabric and I made sort of a mock-up. I didn't like stitch the whole thing. Basically, I wanted to test two things. Number one, could I make this just a completely flat line, because then I can cut it double and not have to worry about two seams. And then two, I wanted to check if there was enough fabric between like the hand and the thumb, and I'm really glad I did, because there definitely was not. Basically what I did was I just cut this pretty generously, and I did cut it with a flat back just to see if that would work or if I would need to throw in an extra seam, and it did work, which is nice. And then I matched it up with the pattern, and I took some pins to pin basically where the thumb needed to be. You definitely don't want to try and do that on yourself, because you will stab yourself. How do I know? It's a secret. And then once I had some pins in for the thumb and a couple of pins in for the wrist, I was able to try it on. And I definitely found out that there was way more than I needed in the wrist, which is nice. But then this end there almost like wasn't enough. So I pinned the whole thing last time, but like I don't want to waste time showing you the whole pinning method. You can just do this. So, all right, so you can see how it's like almost not enough at the end, and then there's just like a huge amount of excess in the wrist. So based on that, I made a new pattern. So this is my original pattern, and then here is my new one. It looks a little silly, but like I mentioned, I needed a lot more space in the hands than I thought I did. So this has a much wider curve outward, and I took a lot of excess out in the wrist, and then I made it wider towards the bottom of the arm. If you want your arm warmers to be, done, out of the way, ready to wear, you can just go ahead and stop here. But I want to add some little decoration. So I have cut out a little tiny heart out of cardstock, and I don't know if you can see it that well, but I have traced it here onto my arm warmer, and I added like a long tail, a line coming off of it. I don't really know why I chose to do that. It's just the design that popped into my head, so I figured we will go with it. And in order to do this, I am going to grab my lucite and some yarn, and we are going to make some decorative cordage to put on our design. So I have done a luciding intro before on another video, but I don't want you to have to like go back and find that, so I'm going to show you it again if you've seen that video. So lucite, cord, you want to have a tail a couple inches, and first we're going to make a figure 8, so once around the left and once around the right. So you have your little figure 8 here, and then you're gonna do once more around the left, and then you can take that tail and hold it between your middle and ring fingers, and then you're gonna pull the loop over the back, pull it tight, and then pull the loop over the back and flip it and pull it tight. Once you've done this setup, it literally is just take the loop on the right side, put it over the back, and flip and pull, loop over the right, flip and pull. So it's, it's not complicated, but it does take practice. Just keep doing this until you've got a cord of the right length for your purposes, for your design. My cord is about 15 inches long. Once you have the cord the length you need, and I'm sorry, I snipped it before I realized I needed to hit record, my bad. Basically, here's how to finish it. So you have your loops, and then you have like the line, and here you can pull it off the lucite, and then you've got kind of a bow looking thing. You're going to put the line and through one of the bow ends, and then pull on the other bow end to tighten it down, and then take your line end and put it back through that loop and pull it down. There you go. So now it will not unravel. But I also like to take a needle and then use it to tuck this back through. So I have just like a large blunt needle, because you can just snip it off at the end, but this is much more likely to not let it unravel. So first you have to kind of fight it through the needle. Oh, hello Angus, you gonna join us?
There he is. Hello, Angostura.
Hi, boy cat. The first thing you want to do is that the loop where you pulled it tight, you want to go ahead and go over that loop so that it holds, hi Angus, so that it holds loop in place, like that. So it looks like this with the needle just going straight through. And then pull that through tightly. And then try and do it like a couple times. Obviously my thread end on this side of the cord was not as long as it needed to be, but just a couple times through. Bask in the presence of Angus, or, you know, the pet of your choice if you have one. There you go. And then you just snip off the excess. All right, so the next part is pretty fiddly. This is the thing that took me the longest with making the first arm warmer. I clocked it at 45 minutes. We have to tack the cordage onto the design. Now, the reason that this is so fiddly is you can't pin it, or you could, but anytime I have done that with the cordage design, it ends up distorting the design and not really looking good. So I'm just going to be like kind of finger forming this onto the heart and tacking it into place as I go. So wish me luck. Alright, here we are, ready to stitch. I'm using a stretch fabric for this, and anytime you're using a stretch fabric and you have something that needs to move and flex with the body, you want a stretch stitch, so I'm using back stitch. And I'm doing like a spaced back stitch, not a small back stitch, because it is going to take a little bit less time. So I'm gonna endeavor to explain how I did the thumb piece here. This is the one that I already made. So basically you can see that it's not symmetrical. There's much more fabric on the underside than there is on the overside. That's because basically I pinned this on to myself in order to see where the thumb cutout kind of needed to be, and I realized that it wasn't symmetrical. So what I did was I undid the whole thing and I made a new pattern. So this is the overside, this is the underside, and you can see that like this one's a little bit of a shallower V, this is a deeper V. They're not super different, but it's different enough that it's going to be a different pattern. So basically I'm going to just throw this onto my one that's waiting in the wings. Sorry, got my scissors there. And go ahead and make the thumb cutout for that, and then it's just stitching it up.